quick before we wrap. Next Friday is Jamie's birthday, and I thought we could surprise them with a cake and maybe do a fun activity in our next team meeting.
Jamie won't be here. They're taking a long weekend trip.
A trip? On their birthday? You know, I worked on my birthday and I didn't even mention it to anybody.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so perfect. Well, let's just move the celebration so then it'll be a real surprise. But let's go all out. Maybe we could do like a really cool balloon arch, a potluck, and oh my God, what about a scavenger hunt?
I have 3 deliverables and a performance review today. Do you think we could just plan this in a group chat? You know, why don't we just let the ladies handle this? You know, they're better at that stuff anyway.
All right. Here's what we'll do. We'll celebrate the week after. Simple cake and optional team trivia.
What? No! But then it won't be special.
You know, in my day...
Oh my God, after that skit, I really can't stop laughing. Hey everybody, welcome to Sanity Pending Podcast. I'm Holly, this is Amber, and if you couldn't tell, today's episode, we are talking about personality quirks at work and the many ways our personalities show up in how we approach our work and how we collaborate with each other, and maybe more notably, Amber, how those differences can create tension and maybe drive some people crazy, you know?
Yes.
And, Amber, you and I, we have both heard that phrase, like, bring your whole selves to work. You know, I've heard it for many, many years now. And I have to say, I like this shift. I think it's a positive shift. But something that always struck me is how we are missing this whole self-awareness piece of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to celebrate authenticity and, you know, being your true self and not having to hide who you are or pretend to be somebody that you're not. But I would actually really love it if people were more aware of how their authenticity is impacting others, because, oh my God, that lack of awareness, that is when I have seen conflict break out at work, is just like not being aware of those things, how it comes across to others, you know?
Definitely. And I think that when we think of, I mean, because I did it as you were talking about, like bringing your whole self to work, and I immediately go to like the extreme. And I think other people too, when it comes to like those examples. And I'm like, I don't know if everybody wants to bring their whole self, right?
No.
Like even like the ugliness, right? Of like I imagined like the creepiness that some people can give off, whether they realize it or not. And you're just like, ew, ew, David, like, just leave that home.
Yeah. Yes. No, I hadn't actually thought about that, but now that you bring it up, I can't not think of that now. Ugh. Yes. Well, and I was going to say, like, it's funny you say that because I remember when I was first starting out, people always said, like, you know, find the most successful person in the room and, like, you know, embody that, like, you know, pretend to be that, like, so it's like, this has been a shift. Like, it wasn't always like that. This is definitely a recent shift. And I am seeing people be more comfortable being their true selves at work, which I do like, to an extent. But they're like you said, like, there's some things that I'm just like, I can't believe you would really think to say or do those things, honestly, at work. You know what I mean?
I also just think of like the internal decisions, like, that people are making in that moment, real time. So if like they're being themselves and that voice, and I am having the voice for them to go, where did that come across as green light go, right? Like, for instance, I will say that we were on a virtual call one time, and somebody on the call was literally biting their nails off and like chewing them in the meeting, where we could all watch that they were biting their nails and that kind of stuff. Where did you get the green light for that? Where is that
That's
really
a little too comfortable?
Your true self and like, it's authentic. It checks the boxes for what we're saying, you know, but that's work that needs to stay Like that's not really a work personality. So I feel like there's a divide actually between a full self and a work self personality. And I am actually curious that when people say that bring your whole self to work, I wonder if it actually still is a box of your work self, your professional work self, because I'm not going to lie. Lots of points got lost on that individual for making that decision.
Wow, it's weird that we have to explain the difference here of like your your work, like your true work self, not your at home, nobody's watching, behind closed doors, kind of like, all those gross stuff. Bring all that to the office. What the heck?
The belching or even the farting, the scratching, the adjusting. And I do not mean to call out the dude specifically for that, but it's a dude thing to adjust and I don't need to see that. Please, can you go to your own space, like bathroom? There's a place that you can, that does not
Especially
need to be.
Especially if you're in an open space, like an open office setting, which I've been in those, and it's on full display for everybody to see. Yeah.
Because you've got to know that it's drawing attention, and it's attention that you want.
Well, so that's
subconsciously, right?
So do you think then, Amber, that's a good point. Do you think most people genuinely don't realize how they are coming across? Or do you think, I don't want to say that they don't care, because maybe they do care, but maybe they just don't want to change, right? They're just I'm going to be, I'm not going to adjust no matter the setting if I'm at work or not.
I truly don't think that people are aware. I think that it is that.
I think self-awareness, I'm with you, 100%.
Because I think that if they were aware, it would maybe look and feel more staged, and it doesn't feel that they are that they are expecting to receive, right? Like some kind of response from that. So there is a comfortability with it, which that comfortability lets me know that, they don't even know that this is sending this message, or that it is sending this thought, or right? So to all credit for that, there is something about that blissfulness in that ignorance of them not knowing the message, and that if somebody had let them know, then maybe that'd be well, then I don't care, or I don't that's not why I did it, right? So there's all kinds of responses, and you wouldn't want to guilt somebody into behaving a particular way.
Oh, no,
if it's not right.
Right.
And so
I know what you're saying. Yes,
how do you handle that type of reaction response? What would you want to gain to let them know that this doesn't fit that work self model, versus because bring your whole self, except for these things that are
exactly. I know. I'm always okay, you say that, but then we need some tools or resources to kind of explain what that means. Give us the fine print, you know what I mean? And how to navigate that, because that is really challenging to navigate at work. It's different than if it's a family member or whatever. And you're in your home, and you're hey, we're at the dinner table. Don't do but it's awkward when you're in an office setting to remind people of those things.
And to that point, I had a situation when I first started at the corporate, big corporate job that I had, and a new hire was brought on, and her attire was very slim fitting, short dresses, and I recall her being pulled aside and told that the way that she dressed was inappropriate for this setting. And her response was confusion. She did not know that what she was wearing. And she's I don't have anything else. This is what I have, and this is how and so she ended up leaving because she didn't want to be controlled in a way that made her feel that she was less than compared to others, and just starting out in a new job where this was their initial opinion of her, is that she's I already don't fit in.
Right.
And and I'm going to have to now overcome this. I already don't fit in, and I don't want to And I felt bad from that perspective, but also at the same time, my societal social training gave me the same information that ooh, that's not, that's a choice, to wear that to work and in this type of environment. And so then I felt bad because then I had to check, and I'm but is she right? Because of not wanting to be told, like she was covered. Right. It just, and so from her perspective, she's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. Like, I don't have anything revealing except for how form fitting. Right. Yeah. And how short the stuff was, but nothing was hanging out and nothing was exposed. And so from her perspective, she's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. And so you don't get to tell me that I am. And there's a part of me that's kind of like, go girl. But then at the same time, I'm like, no, but I kind of also get the point. So I feel somewhat torn.
Yes. And like, why do we think those things? Like, we've been conditioned to think that way. And actually, the HR person in me too is immediately like, who shared the dress code? Like, who went over the new employee handbook? You know, went through the manual with her. Like, I immediately want to know all the things. But the way you said too, like, you know, your very first corporate job, and I know I shared this a little bit before we started the episode, is like, I remember, like my big girl office job, and I was so excited. But like, I was young. I was like, you know, early-ish 20s or whatever, and I had this like little fresh baby face, you know, and it was so hard to get people to take me seriously. I'm like, I am your peer. We are the same position, and trying to get people to overlook that first impression, that like what they see when they look at you. That's so hard to, and I often wonder too, is that the same across genders? Like, do men experience that too? Like, because I've experienced, and I've heard other women tell me that they've also experienced that, where it was hard to get taken seriously and things like that, especially when they were first starting off and they were young. Do men have the same thing? I wonder. I haven't heard any stories shared with me that were reciprocated by the opposite gender. But also, I don't know, I haven't invited anybody to share stories with me either, so that's partially my fault.
Right?
But yeah, that was always hard for me too. I remember that being a big challenge to get taken seriously in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think that I have ever heard of a scenario where it was the opposite. Like, so to your, I'm like, I'm actually thinking.
I'm
like,
trying,
and there was, and I would say that there were men who I would have liked to have said something like, sure, can you button your shirt up? I don't want to see your chest hair coming out of your, why do you get to have like 3 or 4 buttons down on your shirt? And this fully covered individual is being told that they can't wear, like the hypocrisy around like what is considered to be revealing tends to be
yeah, because let's not forget
towards
because let's not forget like the era of like the skin tight chino pants for men too. Like, excuse me, how is that any different than what that young lady was wearing? Excuse me.
Right. Right. Like, so as I'm older, like I'm kind of more on her side.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Just like, you're right, though. Like, I've changed over the years. It has definitely changed. But I think it's because of who taught us what the norms were, right? Yep. It's very different. And I'm seeing, and because, again, people who are younger than me are like, they've been teaching me things to see things differently and to value things that I didn't value before. It's a very strict, like it's a unique point in our time right now for people who are in the workforce where we're working with like up to 4 generations all on the same team, on the same, like together. It's very interesting to navigate that because like our preferences are all different, but also our understandings of what things like professionalism mean or what work-life balance means. Loyalty. I can't tell you, when I was young, all the times I heard loyalty. Now I don't hear loyalty at all anymore, Amber. That's like a dead word. It doesn't mean what it once meant. And things like we were just talking about in our last episode, like our communication preferences, like no cold calls, things like that. Like, it's so funny. This is such a interesting point in time where I wonder if anybody else had that. Do you know what I mean? Where you're working with so many different generations all together in the same kind of work setting like this.
Yeah. And I can just imagine, like, so when I started, I was 28, right? And then when I left, I was 44. And so the amount of growing that I did between 28 and 44 within this environment, where not only am I growing within myself, but I'm growing alongside all of these other kind of like competing things and stuff changing. And so like, just to this point, right? Like I would say that the only reason why, like I was very with the rules, right? There are rules to be followed and I'm going to follow the rules and I am a conformist, right? Like I will do the thing I need to do so you don't pay attention to me so I can just do my work and not be looked at. And now upon leaving, I have a totally different mindset and I'm like, I don't care what you think. Like I have a voice and I'm going to use it, and I get a little more sass in how I communicate, and there's less that so I am also like on like not just pointing out all the different personalities, all the different like experiences that we're all coming to these positions with, but yet we are also given the freedom and flexibility to change those things and to grow within and grow up, out, with it, whatever, however you're growing, right? Like, growing.
No, the way you said it made me sorry. I'm immature.
I know. Right? Like I just, you grow how you need to grow. Right.
Yeah.
And so like that to me, just describing it and thinking of it in those terms also just makes me think pandemonium. How do we keep all of this together? Because it looks like we are being juggled amongst like say the industries are juggling all of the differences or similarities or rooting into how we strongly feel about things and who's in control right now. So who's setting policies and who's kind of like setting what culture looks like, who's in charge here and like how, like to me, it feels so chaotic in my brain that I just immediately want to start making order to it.
Yeah.
And it's not really something to make order of. No. And so I have to like bring that to the inside and just go, okay, what do I want to get out of this? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
And I wanted to leave. That's what I did.
Right? Tell me. I can relate to that. Yes. And it's so funny because like, I feel like, yes, it does feel chaotic. It feels like total chaos. And I feel like a little self-awareness goes a long way to make some of those interactions and like, working alongside people, like it makes it less, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a nice way of saying like awful, but it makes me wonder like, so like is curious from your point of view, Amber, is self-awareness something that you just naturally have and like you can't get it if it didn't, like you don't have it, or is it something you can develop and hone? Because I'm a little shocked by the lack of self-awareness in some of these workplace settings, not just office, but like workplace settings.
Girl, that's a loaded question.
Do you think? Like, cause I'm like, I remember being young, Amber, though, and like being like, I have distinct memories of when I was younger, being able to look at somebody's face and I could see, like, I sense the emotion or I could see their body language and I could interpret like what was going on. Like, how are people like missing this? Like, I don't understand. Or maybe they don't care. I don't know. It's hard for me to figure out.
It seems like it's a loaded question. And my immediate thought was that it was loaded because what would you hope to gain from somebody in a situation where they were self-aware?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, things like what we were talking about, like maybe don't like in the middle of a presentation or when we're all together and you go to meet somebody and they're like belching in the middle of a meeting or something, or biting their nails in the middle, like go off camera or like certain things like that. It's like, do you not it makes me think of that King of the Hill episode where Peggy asks Luann, what's it like to live without shame? Is it a good feeling? And Luann goes, yeah, it is. To be blissfully unaware of how you are coming across to people. Is it really like that? Is it nice to just like not, maybe they do want to just live in this like blissful ignorance. I don't know.
Because then they don't have to take responsibility. That's the snarky way of saying
it. The guilt and the shame.
They don't feel the guilt and the shame, which then causes them to respond or to control and manage themselves. And so what I hear, because I'm going to speak for myself in this, right, and how I'm answering this, is that I want without having to tell them what to do, I want them to just do it. And so the self-awareness gives them that information that I don't have to give them. But then the point of that is that we're all behaving the same. And do I really want that? I don't know that I do. I just don't
that would,
want
like,
to have to correct.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want to feel like I need to correct individuals. Yeah. Like how is that? So it to me feels loaded, bigger than what it actually sounds like as a question, and comes with a lot of slippery like stepping on where the end result comes from. Because I will tell you that my self-awareness has offered a governance over myself. Like I am aware of like when I'm angry in a moment to go, I can proceed with how I am feeling, or I can withdraw and go and like do something a little more productive.
That's a really good example.
So it's governance over myself. And if I am requesting that of others, then I would like for them to also be governing themselves. So that way, when they're making that decision, then we're in agreement that you doubled down. This isn't ignorance. You double down and and now I know what I'm dealing with, right? Like you leaned in.
That's really funny. Yeah.
I'm gonna lean back, right? Like
oh yes. Oh man, that's so funny. Okay, this makes me remember. I don't know why, but I remember this was one time where I did and again, I probably would have spoken out later on, but this is when I'm young, right? But I'm peers with my team members, okay? We didn't have these hierarchical, there were no ranks, okay? So we're all the same. And I remember being on a team meeting one time and I worked with all these guys. So it was me and 5 guys or whatever. And then our manager, it was a team meeting. And we were all just chit-chatting in the beginning. And then when we got ready to start the meeting, one of the guys, a team member said, "Holly, why don't you take notes?" I'm like, why am I taking notes? why me? And I remember I wanted to say something. And it kind of makes me think of that, he doubled down. He was he assessed this. You had to assess the situation. We're getting ready to start a meeting. I'm going to call out Holly and say, "Holly, why don't you take notes? And why are you asking me to take notes?" And I wish I had that is one memory. Unfortunately, that is certain things get seared in your brain and you kind of think about it. And I remember that created future actions of mine where I would join the meeting sometimes a couple minutes late after I knew somebody roles have been designated. I'm not going to be doing stuff. Do you know what it forces you to do things like that? And oh yeah, that's just one of those memories I couldn't escape. And I kind of thought about it afterward, long afterwards, Well,
I mean, and even some of the examples, I'm curious your thought on this. So we are talking about them as if they are personality quirks, right? Yeah. And when I think of quirks, I think of cute, a little strange,
fun,
and fun,
yes.
right?
And
they're a little quirky and they are, but these are the opposite of that. We're talking about things that could actually in your HR adjacent world, kind of could become complaints.
Right. You get a file started.
Correct. Right.
I got a file started for Tommy.
Right? These equal ageism, sexism, sexual harassment, right? And so we are calling them out as quirks, but they're a little stronger, I think, than a quirk, right?
What do you call it? That's so nice.
I don't know, right? Because I would imagine, the things that I wish were the quirky stuff that we dealt with is when, I don't know, our coworker Reba May is wearing, she always wears purple necklaces, and I'm making it up, right? I am making up the entire scenario,
stapler, right?
Or the red stapler,
yes, something,
right? Something that you identify with that particular individual that makes them quirky. For instance, I might be considered quirky or annoying for saying "right" all the time at the end of sentences, right? Oh. Right?
Yeah.
It is something that is
I do that too. That's weird. You just made me self-aware of the fact that I do that.
It's something that I'm aware, right? I'm also right?
Oh no.
Now I am stuck in a data loop of right.
I was just thinking it's the Matrix now. Oh my God.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. I am stuck in a loop. And the quirkiness of knowing that somebody can say she does this thing or she wears these colors together or that can offer a slight amount of judgment, but not so much that it affects your ability to work with them. And these things feel stronger. You adjusted your behavior as a result of some of these. And so, what is the stronger word for a quirk that becomes not tolerable?
Yeah.
Or borderline offensive.
Yes.
Aggressive.
Right? And I see how some of the examples that we're giving and sort of the things that we're talking about that kind of, have irked us as those aren't quirks. They're not cute. They're not funny. They're not they are, I would say, offensive. The stuff that has happened to me, I find very offensive.
So would you say then that if self-awareness seems to be the cure, or would you say that? Would you say that self-awareness is a cure?
See, I don't know if it's a cure or not, because again, then that goes back to the question, like, if you don't already have self-awareness, can you get self-awareness? Can you become self-aware? Because I'm just like, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, if you don't already know what you're doing, like, if you're not already aware of how that's coming across to others, like, can we teach you that? I don't know if that could be taught. I just, so,
right.
And it all kind of goes to that whole, like, you know, we are encouraging people to be more authentic because, you know, authenticity is great. It spurs a lot of creativity and innovation. And I truly do love the idea of not always having to wear a mask. Now, me, I chose to always wear a mask. But again,
Same.
I was always told you find the most successful person and you emulate that. And I saw them being something that wasn't a natural thing for me. So I got used to always putting on this mask that, you know, I have career aspirations for this thing. So I've got to be this person that isn't natural for me. And I kind of forget where I was going with this, but I'm sure you have some thoughts on it. So turn the floor to you, Amber.
Well, this idea of whether somebody can be taught self-awareness.
Yes.
Thank you. I am also curious about that. I don't know the answer.
I know.
But I just used the word, but I do actually wonder if it's less about self-awareness and more about the skill to be curious. Because would they really, I guess I would want to know the difference. Like, what does self-awareness actually mean? And I know that there's like an emotional intelligence grid that kind of offers their definitions behind, you know, like self-awareness, social awareness, and all these kind of like different grids for how, and I forgot the two others, but it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that there is a grid about like where we do have intelligence, and in particular quadrants that doesn't always equal self-awareness. It could be that we have, and so I would like to believe then that if it is not self-awareness that is what can get them to the place, it's just really having the skill of being curious. Asking what you don't know. What do I not know in this scenario that I'm walking into? Here are the things that I'm open to accepting, like learning something new. And then that's where the choice comes in. Instead of making an action that somebody else has to live with or reconcile or address, change behavior.
Yeah.
What if instead that responsibility was placed on, help me understand what I don't know, and then I get to make the decision regarding who I want to be in that moment. But yet I am willing and offering the space for there to be understanding through inquiring.
I always wonder, like, so, and I go back to the meeting minutes thing, like, are you aware of the fact that you asking the only woman on the call to take notes? Are you aware of how that gets perceived? It would be one thing if it was like, you know, a rotated kind of thing, but you always go back to Holly. Like, are you aware what that kind of looks like, what that comes across as? Those kinds of things. And again, I'm not going to discount the fact that maybe some feedback and curiosity around like that couldn't help them see it differently. Do you know, like, absolutely. It's definitely possible. Yeah.
Because if that question had been asked publicly in front of everyone, then there could have been confused as wanting to shame them publicly for what they had done to you, right?
So then if that is not the goal. Yeah, definitely not.
Right. I think for some it is, right? Because you've put me on the spot. You've hurt me. I'm going to attack you back, right?
Yes, like there are some things that like that's called for. This is like one of those things that's just kind of like, I think you need a little like feedback sesh here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, are you open to some feedback?
Yeah.
I would really love to share this experience that I had with you.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
This is because I have done that. And
I know you have. And I've always really admired you for being brave to do that. Yeah.
And it worked out for me really, really well. But it took me a long time to do it. Yeah. And I was also very proud of myself for having done it because I knew that my intent was good. I was not in any way trying to, it's like, I have concerns about how I am feeling about this individual. And everything else tells me that the individual isn't like this, but yet I have this experience and I don't want it to inform everything else that I'm seeing about the individual. Yeah. And so I had a conversation with them, and I explained what had happened and my concerns as to like how this was proceeding, and I got shock and awe in response, like,
yeah,
what? Oh my goodness, right? Like, I'm so sorry, I did not recall that had happened, but if you obviously did, because you're carrying it around for like 2 years, and so like, the best I can tell you is that I'm sure there was a reason, and I'm really sorry that we didn't get a chance to talk about it in the moment. And and it repaired like everything for me to know that this person was full of integrity, and I didn't have to lose that. And everything that I had been seeing in the most recent scenario really kind of put that one piece of information that I had about that individual and how they responded to that one scenario.
Yeah.
Because in watching it in more of a collective, it didn't match, and it wasn't matching for me. And yet I was one of the few people that had that one kind of dissociative respect for them. And I was like, I need to fix this for me, because I hate carrying this around as, like a mark against you, when I really want to like you, and everything else I see about you, like, I really like and respect. And I want to uphold that, like, and honestly, it made it like where they catapulted to even more because of how gracious and willing that they were to have a conversation with me about that, and to express how they saw how it was important for me to have this conversation and made themselves available for it. So
I love that.
But I think I'm ready for a story. If
oh my God. Yes. Story time. Let's say, and by the way, because I know the last couple of stories that we've had were not this is listener submitted. So we're back to a story sent to us. So let's get into it. I used to work on a really small team. There were 4 of us, 2 senior employees and 2 junior employees. I was a junior team member, and I was paired with the senior member for mentoring and support. And over time, I felt like my mentor, who was much older than me, just saw me as someone to do all of their work. I created all the presentations, I wrote up proposals, and handled all of the prep work, but I never got to interact with clients. Eventually, I asked my manager if I could attend one of those meetings, and she said yeah, and sent me the invite. I showed up to my first client call, and after the boring updates were complete, someone on the client side mentioned that they really liked a presentation that I had put together and asked if we could make it a regular monthly update. My mentor, who was leading the call, responded, and I was shocked to hear them take full credit for my presentation. My name was never even mentioned. I was stunned and very angry. After the meeting, I called my mentor and brought up that they had taken credit for my work, and I was told that as a junior employee, my work doesn't reach clients, only theirs does, even though nothing had been changed and the presentation was entirely my original work.
Ooh.
Brutal.
Ooh, lots of thoughts. There's, I think the initial thought is, the times that I have heard this in respect to, you have to do all of this hard work,
the grunt
to
work.
learn, grunt work, right? To kind of learn and appreciate what it means to have, like, I don't know how many times that I have heard that. And
what you've ever had an internship, that's what they tell you.
Yes, because it's what gets you to understand, who to go to, and like, or anytime that somebody has explained why something is happening, I always feel suspect. Like, what are you hiding? Like, why? Like, what if I'm just a really fast learner? And it doesn't take me this long that it took you or somebody else to pick this up, and I might be ready ahead of time, right? No, but it's just like this time that you have to spend, or to your point that you were talking about loyalty, right? Like that there used to be like this like effort ladder that you had to have spent this much time in these things to be eligible, qualifiable, to be seen as somebody who could take on a position. I know that's all out the door now, and there are people who are who like, there's this space, which we could probably talk about, whole other topic, right? The people who have the interest in positions but don't have the skills, and then the people who have the skills but don't have the interest, and the people who, because they have the interest, apply for the job but then don't have the skill to do the job. So I feel like there's, again, very triggering topic as well. So I think what I hear initially is how many times that I have been told that exact thing of, put in your time. You have to put in your time.
Yes.
And you have to learn these things. But then I get completely irate at the stealing fact.
Yeah.
It's one thing that, and it's perfectly fine if it was understood that the senior member is the one who communicates with the clients, that may be in all that work, but that does not mean that credit is something different than what gets funneled through.
Yeah.
There would have been nothing lost on them if it would have been like, my team, we put this together as a team. Even if they would have like made it a team approach that was not a truth.
Used we.
And made it used a we instead of an I, because then maybe they have a belief that says that everything that is done in service to the client is addressed and approached as a team. But that is not what happened in this case. Like, this could have absolutely been addressed in a way to say, thank you for that excellent feedback. We would love to continue providing this, and I'll make sure that our team is aware that this is something that we'll be continuing forward. There was not a necessity to claim sole ownership.
Right. No.
Because that's really kind of belying what that individual needs in terms of recognition.
Yeah.
And so, like, I can see right through all of that. It does not stop, like, the immediate, like, anger, like the immediate, like face burn, like from here up.
I feel it in my cheeks. I know. Yeah.
Right? I'm just
absolutely.
Like, so there is a relational story, but then there's also like a physical response that I'm having to this story.
100%, 100%. And like the whole put in your time thing, Amber, that's one of the things that stood out to me too, because, you know, again, I'm not sure if they're intentionally taking credit or if they're working the way that maybe they've always worked, right? Like, this is maybe the norm there. I don't know. But truly, I don't think the distinction between that matters, though. You know what I mean? I think it's really obvious in this case here that I feel confident that their response in that moment, the way they took credit, they know that they are hoarding all the visibility here, hoarding all of the credit here. And it really, my knee-jerk reaction is just like you. I want to say, bad person, bad guy here. You know what I mean? Like, I immediately want to call that out and say, like, this is like really obvious. Like, you're the villain in this story. But like, I have seen that, like, that because we've kind of talked about it with gatekeeping too. I've seen, and it kind of feels like it goes hand in hand with this whole like hoarding of information, hoarding of visibility, hoarding of achievements, you know, and stuff like that. I feel like all of those, like, there's a relationship between some of those things. I am kind of curious too, Amber, because I know we've talked a little bit about, like, you know, some of these things already, but from a coaching perspective, who would you actually want to address this like credit taking moment with? Like, would you want to talk to the junior employee or the so-called mentor in this case? Like, who would you want to have a conversation with if you were going to have a coaching moment?
Both.
Okay. I want it all.
I want it all. That's right. I want it all because there's always like three sides to every story.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
And so I would want to understand how each of those individuals saw it. Because, see, we are looking at it through our lens of being the junior employee.
Yes.
And because I have never, ever taken credit for something from someone else, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, that is a does not compute moment for me.
100%.
And
does not compute.
It does not compute. I don't think I've ever treated, and I guarantee you, I've never treated somebody that way because I have been the junior employee.
Yes.
Because I had that experience and I know what that feels like.
100%.
And also, it's just wrong. Like, I have a really strong relationship to my work, and I would be horrified if I did that to somebody else and took credit for something that was not mine. And because I do enough work as it is, I don't need to take credit for other people's work.
No.
Because I have enough things that and also credit doesn't really do anything for me. So I would want to know, like, what was going on? Like, how is the story told? Because this story is told from the junior perspective.
Yeah.
not from, I had this employee and this is like, they were upset with me because, like, and I didn't understand. Like, that's not, we don't know that. So I think that if I only got to pick one, I would pick the mentor, because I already know and can fill in through my experiences what's going on with the junior employee. So I would actually be more curious around how the story is told from the mentor's perspective.
Yeah. And this whole norm thing too, like, this is how I was taught. But like, if you're taught, like, so I think about that because like, it could be the norm here. It could just be how they were taught whenever they were a junior employee, and they've just kind of continued this on, this legacy, and like, this is just how they do business, right? How we've always done it. We hear that all the freaking time. And it's like, but when that goes against like a part of you that's like, that like compassionate part of you where it's like, hey, I know what it would mean to this person who put in all this work, who, came up with these ideas and this, whatever it was, right? I know what it would mean to give them a shout out in their first client call or whatever. Like, how did that not occur? That compassion part of you, like, where was that? It was like vacant in you. Like, and it makes me want, is this a work persona or is this a real persona? Like, I have like a million questions and like a whole bunch of rabbit holes that I could go down to try to figure out, like, why did this play out the way that it did,
Right. Because we might learn that it's not so much about that's what happened to them and they're just kind of fulfilling in what they understand as the status quo. What if they do not have any understanding, like, how compassion fits in at work?
Yeah.
Because I have definitely seen and noticed that the kindness, the going out of your way, like those do not align. And I would put compassion in there, do not align with always a professional reputation.
No, those are newer concepts at work.
Those are newer concepts.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I would be really curious to know if they're like, that's not my job to be nice.
Right.
My job
I don't
is
need to care about your feelings, right?
I
like,
don't need to care.
I feel like I've heard that at work before too. Yeah.
Right. And so it may not necessarily be, this is like how things are, like, we hear this is how things are done from a process perspective.
Yeah, right.
And they actually may be saying it from an emotional investment perspective.
Oh.
Also.
Yeah.
I'm curious around how that might like play out. Like, if I were to like propose all of these different scenarios for a response that might come out, I would be curious if emotion has a place when they think of processes, because they do for me. Because they, being a user interface designer, right? Like, that is the whole landscape behind why I do the work that I do in that realm, is because of that experience. And so compassions, feelings, emotions, like how somebody is interacting with something has a lot to do with their willingness to put up with things that may not go well.
Right.
Willingness to, I guess, handle adversity as they come forward, if they are feeling safe and comforted. And so in this story, this person, the mentor, may not feel that the company cares about them. So they're going to do every move that they can to make it to where they make themselves feel important, because they don't feel, because the culture in that environment may not be around how people are feeling. And this individual may be a strong feeler and actually wants it, but doesn't know how to get it. And so the unfortunate, sad consequence is that it trickles down and becomes their behavior to others, when it's really what they would wish and seek and desire. But this is all speculation, absolute speculation about a perspective that I don't know. But the coaching question that I would offer would be related to kind of how we started this whole conversation.
Yes.
Is how the way that you naturally show up for work, if you have an understanding of how you naturally show up in work and how that impacts the people around you, and you can, understand and see that, does it align? Is it aligned with how your intention? And I think it has a really strong connection to reputation. So their intention and how they would address,
power, like you said.
Yes. Like, all has to do with it. And so another fun question that kind of gets at the same point is the one that it's a very popular one in terms of reflecting is like, what would you want people to say at your funeral about you? So if you had right? Like if you had a work funeral and it was just your coworkers who were in attendance, like a retirement party, because a retirement party, I guess it may be also similar to a funeral. They're going to say all the nice things about you and not all the ways that you were a complete jerk.
The good moments.
But what, right? But what if in this moment, right, there was a culture that it was acceptable to say everything that, and what would you want people to say about you? That was true and not, I guess, glossed over by the fact that we don't like to speak ill of the dead.
Yeah. Or what's the thing? Like you see it through rose-colored glasses or whatever, like look at all the, reminisce on things, but you see it differently.
So if that was taken out, like, how would you want, and does it match the work that you're putting in? Because look, the snark in me is going to say people don't think one iota about who they want to be at work.
Really?
My cynical view is that I think people are just out here free floating like those, right?
Like the thing again at the car place.
Yes. And they're just out here going like, I don't care what people think about me, right? And they just take every scenario as just like, oh, whatever. Like cynical. No, that's my very cynical view. But I know a handful of people that I'm aware of that actually think about who they're trying to be and who they're trying to become. Like they have a vision about who they want to be at work, and that these intentions, like who I am being today is going to be pretty consistent with some new things that I've learned about how I would want to be. I do not feel that I have enough evidence of conversations with people at work that more than this handful of people that have that awareness.
Like a tiny handful? Sorry, it made me think of that. But like I guess that's like kind of the tiny. I love how like we bring it all back, right? It all comes like back, like it makes another appearance. But no, like I guess that's true. Like it kind of makes me think too about the number of people I know who don't think outside the moment that they're living in. They can't think about big picture stuff or down the road this might impact blah 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 blah, right? Like there are a lot of people who they have these like goggles on where they can't see anything beyond the moment. And I will say, I could see how that plays a factor into kind of where you were getting at, because they just, for whatever reason, they're very like zoomed in,
Like, I know that there's certain things that could have happened in a meeting. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to have to pay for that later. And I don't think that people have that same understanding.
True.
Or can walk away from a meeting and go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, I done messed it up.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. It makes me wonder, are we the oddballs, Amber, at work? Because like we think like that? Like, are we the weirdo? Are we the quirky ones? What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we quirky.
We're totally quirky.
We're totally quirky for sure, right? But again, I see quirky as like, we can be seen as quirky because we are not doing these egregious. Like we have been waffling this entire episode between the things that are like in the safe zone and the stuff that like crosses lines. Yeah. And so like a lot of our conversation has been the things that cross a line, but that could have very easily just been maybe seen as a quirk if it didn't do the egregious or aggressive thing.
For
Something can be a quirk, like somebody biting their nails and eating them, like chewing on them in the meeting, right? Vomit inducing certainly changed my opinion of them. Yeah. But did they harm me? No, that's a quirk, right? Like they didn't, but some of these others are stuff that would actually need to be addressed. And did that person did that person want to be seen as the one that bites their nails in a meeting? Maybe. And maybe they don't care. And then what do you do with the people who don't care? They're like, whatever. Like, all right, well, as Holly proceeds to go find herself, is because she's been on the hunt for finding herself this whole episode. You can find us. I know, right? You can find us on a lot of social channels. We have an Instagram, we have a TikTok, and then obviously we have a YouTube. But then more fun is that we have a Reddit channel, and that is where we are posting fun memes and videos and asking additional questions. And so come join us in the conversation conversation. We really love it. Reddit obviously is an anonymous environment. And so you won't know who you are except the fact that you love us. And then speaking of that, if you do love us, hit that subscribe button, because that really kind of helps us get to where we're trying to go, which is to more people's. Oh, this is how we get to the alien spaceship. We need your subscribe. Yes. We need your love and your likes to get us to the mothership. The mothership of awareness and exposure, access. We're trying to get it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going. I felt like I wanted to pitch in, but I'm like, I'll leave it to her.
Just subscribe. That's the point. The point is to subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe.
Yes.
Don't hide your kids or hide your wife. Tell your kids and tell your wife about the podcast. And I've lost Holly now.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Oh, too much.
I don't know where that came. It just popped into my head.
God, like that. So
that
funny.
Video. I loved that when it came out. So good.
Throwback.
For
so
sure.
Good.
So we talked about the places we are. We told you who you can get to subscribe for us. And we are Sanity Pending Podcast. I am Amber. This is Holly. And if you've not throat punched somebody this week, it's a good week.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you next time.